It's time now for the award-winning #1 local talk show in Northeast Pennsylvania, The Sam Lesante Show. Now here's your host, Sam Lesante.
Well, folks, what's happening in Schuylkill County? We're going to find out a couple things that's happening in the DA's office and also in the coroner's office. Once in a while, folks, I'd like to bring people on from different Luzerne County, Schuylkill County, just to bring us up to date what's going on, what they're working on, how you can be of help. So this is a show for everybody, not only for people who live in Schuylkill County. My guest today, the District Attorney of Schuylkill County, Christine Holman, and the Coroner of Schuylkill County, Dr. David Moylan. Thanks for coming on the show, folks.
You're welcome,
Thank you.
Sam.
Thanks for having
Well,
us.
the both of you are no stranger to the show, particularly with you know, Christine, all the great things that you've been doing and telling people about. You know, the DA's office, now you've been there, what, 2 years?
I took office January of 2014.
Okay. Some of the key things that you saw, that you're working on, you know, I know you're all over the place, but just give our viewers some key areas that you know that you were concerned about.
Certainly, Sam. Everything is important to me in Schuylkill County as far as making it a better place. One of the things that really gripes me is when some people say, oh, Schuylkill County's good enough, you know, what do you expect? It's Schuylkill County. To me, it's everything, and I hope that citizens of Schuylkill County will look to sharing that more and more. My focus and my goals in the county are to fight blight and overcome the aesthetically ugliness, the ugliness that sort of clutters up all of our towns and communities. These dilapidated buildings cause more trouble than people realize. They bring down property values. I think they spike crime. They cause hazards for our law enforcement, and I know for deputy coroners who need to respond to certain crimes. So blight is a major focus of mine, and in combating blight, I've been educating the boots that are on the ground, the code enforcement officers. I have started a code enforcement association where each month I allow code enforcement officers to come to a meeting. And when I say allow, maybe that was a poor choice of word, invite them. Invite them to come to a meeting and share their stories, share their concerns, and get some answers. Schuylkill County has developed an ABATE team, an anti-blight action team enforcement. This is a group of people that consists of Senator Argel, Mary Beth Doherty from his office, Gary Bender, who works for the county, Michelle O'Connell, who is fluent in demolition, some borough managers, Bobby Mahalchik from Minersville. Anyone else who is interested in joining certainly should see me, give me a call. What happens, Sam and Doc, is the code enforcement officers gather. They can put forth a problem that they're having in their community. How do they combat this particular issue? And the ABATE team may give them some advice, as well as myself. Elder abuse is another.
Let's stay on the blight situation.
Okay,
for a second.
certainly.
Okay, now, so you have the concerns of blight, and you have these meetings, etc. Now, what has been accomplished from these meetings?
All right. Well, I can tell you, Sam, just from some statistics that I've looked at, since 2014, there has been 12,828 criminal complaints filed from January of 14 to August of 2015. Out of those 12,000 and some odd complaints, criminal complaints that have been filed, 7 dispositions have been reached with regard to public nuisance criminal complaints. That has never happened previously. The public nuisance criminal complaints that are being filed are a result of police officers working with code enforcement to file complaints against dilapidated properties and against the owners who allow them to fester in the communities. So what does that mean for the community? It means awareness. It means that we are fighting back. We are not allowing individuals to leave these properties just languish as they are.
So this seems to be like a team effort here. I mean, because you could come in and charge, and then there has to be office zoning or not zoning, but who goes in there and then does the assessment and on the property, and then have to get to the property owners. Okay. Now, is there a new law on the books that, let's say I'm an absentee landlord, okay, and I live in Timbuktu.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, you could come after me in Timbuktu now, can't you?
Yes. There are jurisdictional laws that reach out across the different states. One of the things that myself, Sam, are cracking down on and being very diligent about is individuals who try to shield themselves with an LLC.
Yeah.
It's not going to work. An LLC, it's very easy. A little bit of research. I can go on the Department of Corporations website and find out who you are, where what your headquarters is, and typically find you, and I will, and have one of our investigators file a criminal complaint against you, bring you into Schuylkill County, and make you stand accountable for that property that you purchased, perhaps sight unseen, and then maybe wanted to transfer. The property that you would have purchased sight unseen, you will need to become code compliant within X amount of days, or I will request that you be charged criminally under the public nuisance statute. The public nuisance is under the Crimes Code, and a public nuisance crime has a grade of a misdemeanor 2. That misdemeanor 2 means that there are penalties. It could include imprisonment and a heavy fine. So if you want to mess around with buying up properties in the county that are already dilapidated and thinking you're going to flip them, as most people say, I'm really tired of hearing that word. Well, we're going to buy this property and flip it. You're not going to do that with a property that is not code compliant. It's going to cost you thousands of dollars to do it. My advice to individuals coming into the county and looking to buy properties is buyer beware. Look at the property before you purchase it, because you will be held accountable for the state that it's in.
So there's been a major accomplishments made with the different committees that you've been working with?
I fully believe so, Sam, and it's been, people have become much more aware of blight and have become anxious and interested in helping me fight blight.
Folks, I'm talking to District Attorney Christine Holman. Along with her on the show is the coroner of Schuylkill County, Dr. Moylan. Now, how do the coroner and the district attorney's office work, and why is it so important to have people who know what they're doing in those offices? We'll be back right after this. Welcome back to the Sam Lesante Show, folks. Remember, 24/7, SSPTV.com, high definition. All of our shows are on there, all the Sam Lesante shows, plus our FYI News, etc. The Girls show. My email, sam@ssptv.com. My guest today, District Attorney Christine Holman from Schuylkill County, and Dr. David Moylan, who is the coroner of Schuylkill County. Doctor, you heard what Christine was talking about in blight, etc. Now, in your office, from what I've read and listened to on TV, is that there's a lot of times that you have to work with the district attorney's office. So explain some of the areas where it's important, for you to work with the district attorney's office.
And well, just to comment on the blight situation, as Christine pointed out, our deputies get called to these scenes. They're often havens for crime and drugs and magnets, and I worry about the men and women that have to go on scene. Of course, our policy is wait till law enforcement gets in there and declares it safe. But again, it is a concern. Communication, that's the key here. And we're on the phone talking several times a week, and we've cooperated on a tool that I think was underutilized in years past, but it was the coroner's inquest. And we've had 3 successful interactions, and I think it's wonderful to involve the citizens on some of these determinations where there's a gray zone. And it's been a real pleasure to work with you in there. And
Thank you, Doc.
What is a coroner's inquest? I didn't mean to, but what is a coroner's inquest?
You researched it for that you educate the jurors when they come in.
Let me explain a little, Sam, with regard to a coroner's inquest, and just so the public knows, it's a product of the legislature. It's a law. There's a section devoted to coroner's inquest wherein if the coroner, Dr. Moylan, in this case in Schuylkill County, would make a request to have a coroner's inquest, the district attorney takes charge of the prosecution. It's very similar to a court proceeding, but the rules are a little more relaxed. So I would impanel a jury, and the jury is composed of 6 citizens of Schuylkill County. And in the 3 coroner's inquests that I've done at Doc Moylan's request, I utilized jurors that had come into court to be selected for criminal cases. And the jurors that were not selected for those criminal cases, I then did a short voir dire. And I can say that the individuals that I had talked to were very interested and very cooperative. I didn't have to coax them into volunteering to be on a coroner's inquest panel. The 6 jurors reported to the Simon Kramer Institute, and I will say that I think it is very advantageous and prudent for Doc Moylan to be the coroner in Schuylkill County. He made these inquests happen in a way, it all came together with allowing me to utilize his forum. In order to use the courthouse, you have to worry about security, you have to worry about overtime. Using Doc's place, it was easy. So the 6 individuals reported. All of the witnesses that I needed to question were subpoenaed, just as in a civil or a criminal case. I put them on the witness stand. We swore them in. They testified. The 6 jurors took notes. They, at the conclusion of the case, they deliberated, and they were to determine what the cause of death was, if the cause of death was accidental or if it was at the hand of another. Now, the effect of that, the effect of their findings and their deliberations means a lot to the public. It means that 6 of their own, six of a body, were able to make a determination on the evidence that we presented. However, one of the drawbacks is that the district attorney's office and law enforcement did not have enough evidence to charge criminally. We were utilizing the coroner's inquest to go a step further as an investigative tool. Maybe we were able to flush something else out. And if so, we would then take that a step further.
What part do you have in that? You have to call for the...
I call it, and
What makes you determine when to call for one?
Well, again, if it's a gray zone where we don't have a precise cause of death, or if the possibility of a homicide does exist. Now, again, as Christine, I think, pointed out, there's different rules of evidence. But in a homicide, there's no statute of limitations, is there?
That's correct, Doc. And I think, Sam, I can, and Doc, if you don't mind, at least 2 that you had requested that I conduct. The one involved an allegation of drug overdose, a heroin overdose. The boy was found deceased, and it looked like an overdose, but we weren't certain. The other one was an unfortunate incident where a woman had, like she either fell or might have been pushed down a flight of stairs. And maybe you can explain better on what her actual injuries were, but nonetheless, she was deceased.
Yes, and again, toxicology is a key of all these investigations, and the trauma that she experienced wasn't enough to kill her, but looked like there were some drugs involved.
Some drugs involved.
Yeah.
And then the third one also involved a gentleman that was found in a upstairs apartment almost looked like his placement had been staged, but again,
Staged, yes, that's the family to this day.
it
thinks
looked,
that what
you
happened,
know,
so.
a drug overdose.
Yeah.
So drugs are an integral part, and it seems to be the leading factor, the leading cause
those two.
of
Three of
deaths.
them,
You know, two out of the three at least.
Well, Christine, I have a hope that with that information out there, it's been well publicized. Somebody's able to come forward in the next year or two or whatever and give us some more information. And the other thing is that I compliment you on the technique for having the jurors, the 6 jurors, interact after each testimony with the experts or fact witnesses on the scene. They would communicate to me written questions, you would review them, and then it was an opportunity for them to get that information immediately rather than back in the deliberation room.
Christine,
Exactly.
based on qualifications again, working with Dr. Moylan in the coroner's office, how important do you think it is to have a medical or a doctor in the coroner's office?
Very important, and I would like to say, Sam, to the electorate out there in Schuylkill County that it would certainly be, I think, a wise, prudent, and advantageous decision to continue having Dr. Moylan serve in the capacity as our coroner. He has brought so many different ideas, techniques to Schuylkill County. I believe he's on the cutting edge, really, of bringing Schuylkill County forward with his vertopsy, with his ideas to really put electronics to better use. And his, some of his comments I saw when watching the show as far as doing more with less. We're all faced with that.
Yes.
And it's very important to have a doctor that can do more with less.
And you look at sometimes priorities, in the county and where funding is going, et cetera, and you're only hoping that the county commissioners have the foresight to look at priorities and seeing what areas do we need to have money other than areas that I have a friend, Christine Holman, I'll give her an extra 100. I have a friend, which is Bull. I'm not saying they do that, but I'm saying I was hope that the county commissioners owe it to the county to look at priorities first, like we do in any business. Folks, I'm talking to District Attorney Christine Holman and Coroner Dr. David Moylan. We'll be back with more information after this message. Welcome back to the Sam Lesante Show, folks. And remember, you can watch all of our programming in HD 24/7 on ssptv.com. My email is sam@ssptv.com. And thank you so much, folks, for all the nice comments that you get, and also those critical ones. I appreciate that very much. My guest today, District Attorney Christine Holman and Schuylkill County Coroner David Moylan. We talk about suicides. Well, before we get to suicides, elder abuse. Touch a little bit on that and how the both of you may work in that area. I'm not sure.
Certainly, Sam. Elder abuse, for me, is one of my main goals as far as decreasing it in Schuylkill County. What I've been doing since I took office is educating the general public, educating seniors about signs of elder abuse. And Schuylkill County has some great programs, senior services, SEPA. There is definitely an awareness, I think, a larger awareness of elder abuse in the county. There's many kinds of elder abuse: financial exploitation, physical abuse, mental abuse. We've seen several cases of financial elder abuse in the county. One that comes to mind where we did resolve the matter, but unfortunately the elder gentleman died before we could prosecute. And that was the elder gentleman who had been financially exploited for roughly $450,000 on contract repairs for a house that I had appraised with the help of Tony Matzel, and it came in at a whopping figure of $18,000 total.
I don't know if that whole trauma killed the man, but I mean, I remember you telling me about that case, and
Yes.
it just broke my heart. How do you get involved with the coroner's office? Are you involved with anything with elder abuse?
No, absolutely, and we see it in many of its manifestations. I was on a call myself with the deputy, and an elderly gentleman, 90, some was found dead. So we're interacting with the family for notification, and apparently, and we have a saying in the coroner's office, where there's a will, there's a relative.
Yes.
But apparently this old buck kept a wad of money down by the furnace in a coffee jar. And the next morning, the money was gone, and the two daughters were fighting. But, I think that was an example of some elder abuse and how can you prove it? It was just gone. And then we had another recent case that we've spoken about, and it was neglect. And we had a formal forensic autopsy.
Wow.
And this elderly woman was at home. There was she had some benefits coming in, and there were other factors of dementia. That's something that you see commonly. Once the mind starts going, people take advantage.
What people and you went into detail on one of my shows of how people should look at, and you had all the telltale signs.
Yes.
Keep in mind, folks, if and please correct me. If you detect something, it's anonymous. They're not going to, get you involved. If you suspect your neighbor across the street or next, whatever, that you see there's some abuse, give them a call, okay? And you're not going to get involved. They know what you're thinking. I'm not getting involved, and that's always the case.
Yes, Sam, and you just touched on an excellent point. The situation that Doc just referred to with the woman who was found dead in a residence. She had been neglected, to say the least. What I had found out during a meeting that we had with the deputy coroner, local law enforcement, Doc, was that there was a neighbor that had been having conversation with this woman through their windows. She was on a second story, so there was a window, and he, being a neighbor in a closely populated area, would have conversation with her once in a while. And guess what? Conversation ceased. But he didn't really report it, not to his discredit, but just didn't think enough about it. So the point being, if you have connection with an elderly person and you stop having that connection without any rhyme or reason, if you see that elder person having changes in their appearance, if you see them being a little despondent, a change in personality, anything unusual, report it.
Interesting, folks, for all you mailmen out there, all the people who go Meals and Wheels, anyone who delivers anything to homes, paper guys, etc., there's a great opportunity here. If you see something that you don't think is right, particularly if you're delivering mail to home every day, go ahead, you're going to say something.
Well, no, that's certainly a clue there, but I just wanted to take my hat off to the funeral directors in Schuylkill County, because they're our first defense. When they're receiving a body and an elder person, they will alert us if they see signs of abuse.
It's interesting because, there's a lot of things that can be prevented, and certainly that's why I think that both areas, I wanted to have the both of you on the show to explain all the education. I mean, I see it on television, I see it in the papers, the same thing with you, Doc, in the coroner's office, etc. So all I could say is on behalf of the people of Schuylkill County, thanks for the great job, and there's a lot more that has to be accomplished, right? We're running a little out of time. Anything in closing? You got 30 seconds, Christine?
Again, my hat is off to Doc Moylan for all of the steps that he's taken in his term of office in improving the coroner's office and in his open line of communication with myself. I think that's important.
Doc, anything in closing? You got 30 seconds.
30 seconds. Again, I solicit the citizens of Schuylkill County to support me for another 4 years.
Okay. Folks, it's the Sam Lesante Show. Remember, any comments you have, it's sam@ssptv.com. That's my email. We'll see you next time.